In today's video, we're going to be taking a look here at the upcoming pattern. Again, there is a lot of interesting things coming up, including some pretty major storms, some big temperature shifts as we reach another transitionary period here from the winter into the spring. It's a little bit late in the year to be talking about more wintry weather, but we're seeing this winter want to hold on a little bit tighter than we do see most years this late into the spring. So we're going to see a switch back to that wintry weather. I know it's very hard to believe right now. It's 82 in Virginia. I wouldn't believe it either, but sure enough, that is a real thing that we are expecting to be happening here. So we need to talk about that. We're going to talk about some severe weather threats as well, and even some tropical activity. Let's go ahead and move on towards this afternoon, and we're going to start to see that tropical activity taking off. We do see some pretty strong winds with this as well, as this low does get a center here later on today. I actually wanted to zoom us into the Gulf Coast. Maybe this one will be the view we want. This might get us a little bit of it. Let me see if we have a better view here. Let's see. I'd have to do this. Here we go. This might get us what we want here. I want to just be able to take a look at the Gulf of Mexico here, so we can take a look, and we're not going to get that precipitation type, but what I want to take a look at is actually the wind, because we do expect a lot of wind with this. I mean, look at this. So this is after it's pretty much said and done, and we see all these Gulf Coast areas in here, including a lot of Florida there, Louisiana especially, and then portions of Mississippi, Alabama, and the Florida Panhandle there along the coast. Anywhere in the blues is going to be under 34 mile per hour wind gusts here. These are accumulated wind gusts. This means through the next 60 hours is the maximum at any point you're going to be seeing. But it's those green areas where we reach over 34 mile per hour and actually go up all the way to 50. And that is where things look a little bit concerning. And even those yellows and oranges there, we see some of that hitting the Florida Panhandle and Louisiana, although this can be a little bit different than what actually happens. That is where we actually get over 50 and even approach 60 in some areas. So definitely this is going to be a little bit of a windy occasion here. This tropical activity, it should not be taken lightly, because there actually is quite a few impacts expected with this. And when we take a look at that total precipitation, we also see that for Louisiana here, especially near this Louisiana coast all the way up through New Orleans, we see anywhere from about 2 to 5 inches of rainfall here in these reds, even approaching 6 inches of rainfall. So some flooding concern and some wind concerns there. Definitely a very concerning look very early on in the hurricane season. Obviously, it's not even officially the hurricane season yet, but seeing some tropical activity bring this level of impacts is slightly concerning to see at a start. And I mentioned this in yesterday's video, I think, but it doesn't mean that we're going to have a bad hurricane season, but it just doesn't leave you with a good feeling, really, does it? We see this reaches 1,005 millibars. It's not really a strong low by any means, but it's just enough to bring these major winds and potential flooding on the way. It's major for a typical storm. It's not major for a tropical storm or hurricane by any means, but definitely for this time of year, it's going to be a much worse storm than you'd expect at any point. And we're going to see this basically move up towards the southeast and mid-Atlantic. And we will actually see that in just a minute, but we need to watch two things at this point. We actually have a low here as well near Colorado, Nebraska, Wyoming, and this is going to develop a cold front underneath it, warm front up above it, and we will be watching for severe weather with this one, so we're going to have a major storm there at the same time. So we see that move up into the plains. We see the tropical activity move up into the southeast here, so we see that taking place there. We see two areas of low pressure here, and there is obviously a connection there. We see a bit of a warm front there and then a cold front underneath. And really, I think anywhere out ahead of the top low is going to be problematic areas to watch. So especially as we head towards Saturday here, we see this kind of unites as one area of pretty broad low pressure, but it's pretty similar pressure. Pretty interesting scenario we see here. We do see that this is the area I'd be watching for severe weather at this point for Saturday the 15th. We do see this tropical activity bringing some rainfall there to the east coast by this weekend. So it's going to be nice outside of that. And then we see that by time we're reaching Sunday, we get this low here and this cold front doing this. There's warm surging air heading all the way up the east coast. And that is what we're currently seeing, and we're going to see that through the weekend. But we have this very intense Arctic blast and a cold front leading the way. And this is a concerning look for severe weather in between these two air masses. So we're going to be watching for another pretty major severe weather event. And actually for Monday, here we could be dealing with some New England thunderstorms. Kind of a rarer occurrence. It's not super rare, but definitely an interesting look. And look at this, we have Great Lakes snowfall happening underneath this low up here. We have another secondary low here. So pretty stormy here for the Northeast, and we have a very intense S-curve here happening with the jet stream. So we have warm air doing this. We have this cold air doing this. So a very intense look, very stormy. And actually what we're going to see following this is another storm system moving up through the northwest that we see here over the upper Midwest. And this is going to once again allow for another ridge to develop in the east over time, and this cold air and stormy weather to move back down for the west. And what we see is actually another area of severe weather potentially for mid next week here, because again, look at this storm number 2. I didn't even notice this. Sorry, I just got a little excited there, but we literally see another low here over eastern Colorado into Kansas and Nebraska. So once again, we get a cold front, warm front look from this. And this is like the 5th or 6th storm this spring that we've seen like this. And each one has brought major severe weather with it. And I would be concerned again for these areas. We don't have as big of a cold air mass behind it this time around. So that is the only good news I have to give you guys. But for this is going to be for maybe Wednesday the 19th. Maybe overnight Tuesday into Wednesday, but at least Wednesday the 19th there, right here. And then Thursday the 20th, we kind of leave some storminess underneath here. So potentially some storms underneath with that. And then we have another storm system moving in through the northwest that we need to watch. And look, I guess this is a different trajectory, but we have a low developing here, potentially that trying to set up there. So we'd be once again watching for severe weather, at least for this area here, as we approach that next weekend. So the 20th to the 24th, let's call it. So once again, it looks like for late April, we are moving back into an active period, which is not what I wanted to be telling you guys today, because obviously we dealt with a very active beginning to the severe weather season. But sure enough, we see that activity continue. We get multiple storms moving onshore to the northwest. We get a couple of storms moving up here that bring pretty broad areas of some broad areas of precipitation for this. And then we see this tropical activity kind of lingering in these areas here, and that is what brings this area of very heavy precipitation as well. So this is the main storm tracks at this point that we're going to be watching over the next 10 days. As we take a look at that total snowfall, we could see the Cascades and Sierra Nevadas, northern Sierra Nevadas at least, see plenty of snowfall, multiple feet still. And then up and down the Rockies here, all the way down to Colorado and New Mexico, we do see the continued snowfall slowing down a little bit here as expected for this time of year, but we see a little bit less of this. And then as this storm moves through like this upwards into Canada, as we're going to have kind of warm air ridging here in the east, we see this move around that warm air mass. We get a very major Canadian snowstorm up here. And also for North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, the Great Lakes here. And then for all of these areas in Canada, I need to learn all my Canadian provinces so that way I can reference them a little bit better. But these areas here, which I know is a little bit more sparsely populated than the eastern regions of Canada, but there is still people up there, of course, and they're expecting 1 to 3 feet of snowfall. 3 being here over the Hudson Bay there, and then also down here we see this area here expecting quite a bit. That would be the bullseye to watch for with that. So certainly very, very heavy snowfall event up there for Canada. And not only that, the north central of the United States there as well, we would be watching for. Anyway, guys, that's it for this video. I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on these upcoming major storms, including the tropical activity, the multiple severe weather threats, and the big temperature shifts we're going to see with troughs and ridges. It's going to be all over the place. I'm going to continue to update you guys on all of these things throughout the next week or so as we just kind of move into this next pattern, and eventually we'll be moving towards May as well, so some very interesting things. So be sure to subscribe. We do upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.